For more on this, I'm joined by Arabiya English journalist Darshan Dalal. Darshan, thank you so much for joining us. How will Khaleda Zia's legacy be viewed within Bangladesh and internationally?
Hi, Leigh-Ann. Thanks for having me. As you said, she was the first female Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and she was the second leader of a Muslim majority democracy, first being Benazir Bhutto of Pakistan, who was elected as Prime Minister in 1988. Khaleda Zia became Prime Minister in 1991. Her passing has essentially united a deeply divided country. Thousands have come out for her funeral and prayers as well. And following her passing, the interim leader, Muhammad Yunus, said in a statement that she will be seen as a strong symbol of democratic movement in the country and that she will be remembered for her strength and resilience. So she was essentially seen as a shy housewife to Zia Rahman, who was president of the country. And after following his assassination in 1981, she took the reins from him and became the leader of Bangladeshi National Party, BNP. And since then, she has served as the leader of Bangladesh for 3 times. So from a shy housewife to the leader of the country for 3 times, that is how her legacy will be seen.
And as a leader, what were her most significant achievements in government, Darshan? And where do critics say her leadership actually fell short?
So when she became Prime Minister in 1991, she essentially came on the promise of liberating Bangladesh from poverty and liberating the country from economic backwardness. She also made primary education free and compulsory for people. And she also lifted restrictions on foreign investment, which led to the boom and the Bangladeshi garment industry. However, she was also accused of corruption in her second term. In 1996, as she was contesting for the election, which she announced early, she won about 278 seats out of 300 in an election which was boycotted by all the opposition parties, including Sheikh Hasina's Awami League. That premiership lasted only for 12 days. And following the election later on, she once again came back to power in 2001. She was accused of corruption, and she was also accused of allowing the militancy surge in the country. She was more of an assertive leader, and the fact that she was uncompromising, which also meant that she was isolated domestically as well as internationally. So that is how one of her criticism was, that she was uncompromising. I mean, she was seen as a democracy icon, but she never colluded with any of the military leader, unlike Sheikh Hasina.
And let's talk about that right now, because the political rivalry between Khaleda Zia and Sheikh Hasina has really defined Bangladeshi politics for decades. How did this era change politics in the country, and what does it leave behind?
Interesting. I mean, in the 1990, both Sheikh Hasina and Khaleda Zia came together to oust a military dictator, Hussein Mohammad Irshad. And surprisingly, in 1991, she became the Prime Minister. And that was the only partnership that they ever had. Since then, they had a bitter rivalry, which was deep, long, extremely divided and political. As I said before, Khaleda Zia was seen as polite, who chose her words carefully, but was bold and assertive. On the other hand, Sheikh Hasina, who was seen as more outspoken and bold, once also colluded with a military leader to basically gain power. But that basically defined the relationship and the decades in which they alternated power. And it was called the Battle of the Begums, which is an honorary title in the Urdu language given for women of high stature and power in South Asia. But it's interesting to note that despite this decades-long bitter rivalry, Sheikh Hasina, who lives in exile in India after her ouster last year, has come out and said in a condolence message for Zia, and right after her passing, that Bangladesh will remember her as the first female leader, and that Bangladesh has lost a leadership position, and Bangladesh National Party will essentially be remembering her. And she has also sent some condolence messages, which should not be overlooked because the rivalry was quite deep. And given that she has put out a statement right after that, it is quite interesting.
And let's talk a little bit about, with Khaleda Zia's passing, it comes just ahead of the general election in Bangladesh, which is going to take place in February. Now, how might her absence influence voter sentiment and party dynamics, particularly for the BNP?
So since her passing, as I said before, the country is essentially united. Thousands have come out for her funeral. This will give momentum to Bangladesh National Party. And her legacy will live on in the form of her son, Tariq Rahman, who came back just days ago on 25th of December after 17 years in self-imposed exile in London. He was accused of several one of the 2004 grenade bombings in 2004 rally where Sheikh Hasina was present, in which dozens of people were killed. But now he is seen as heir apparent to Khaleda Zia, and even his face is coming alongside Khaleda Zia's in banners and posters across the country. So it is essentially being seen that he is going to be the next prime minister when he secures majority in the February elections. And that is an interesting scenario in the country, in a sense that given the Awami League holds so much significance even on the streets at the moment. It remains to be seen. However, he is indeed seen as a future prime minister as long as he secures the majority in the Feb elections.
Darshan, Dalal, it was brilliant to have you on. Thank you so much for your analysis and time.